I'm going to walk you through an 8-step process for editing your first YouTube video in iMovie. Now, the video I'm going to be editing is the most popular style of YouTube video out there right now, and that's the talking head video. You know, you're sitting in front of the camera, you hit record, you deliver your content, then you edit it all together later. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that editing in iMovie, the free beginner-friendly video editing application that comes with your Mac. Let's jump in. All right, so here we are in iMovie. This is iMovie version 10.4.3. Now, step one of the process is to create a fresh iMovie library for your YouTube video. An iMovie library contains all your media as well as many other important files for your project. Creating a fresh library for your different editing projects will help you stay organized and help keep iMovie running smoothly. It also makes it easier to share and archive your projects. So you can create a fresh iMovie library by first, of course, launching iMovie. Then you go up to File, Open Library, New. And you get this Save dialog where you can name your new iMovie library and save it to a location. Now you can save it to your internal or system drive if you have space, or you can save it and run it from an external drive. All right, now that we have our fresh library set up, which you can see right here, first YouTube library, we're going to create a new project for our YouTube video. Now you can think of projects in iMovie as editing timelines. So to create a new project, I'm just going to go over here to where it says Create New, and I'm going to select Movie. And now it's going to ask me which library do I want to create this project in. Now this is the default library, iMovie library. I don't want that one. I want to use the fresh library I created, first YouTube video. So I'll select that and hit OK. Okay, this brings us into the default iMovie editing interface. And you can see over here in the left column, first YouTube video, that's the fresh library we just created. And below that is the default iMovie library that comes with whenever you install iMovie. I'm going to close this library because I don't need it. So I'm going to right-click and select Close iMovie Library. And now we have just our new library here. I'm going to hit this little arrow below, and you can see we have an event here with the date that this library was created. All right, before I go any further, I'm going to save my iMovie project by going up and hitting the Projects button. And now I get this naming dialog, and I'm going to name my project and hit OK. That bounces me back into the project panel, and you can see here's the new project that I just created. I'll double click to open it up. All right, now that we've created a fresh iMovie library with a brand new project for our YouTube video, it's time to do a little more housekeeping to stay organized and save time while editing. I'm going to select this default dated event here, and I'm going to rename it Video. Events are essentially folders and can be used to organize your media in pretty much any way you want. iMovie defaults to organizing events by date. I'm going to right-click in the left column here and select New Event to create another event, and I'm going to label this one Graphics to store any images or animations for my project. And I will then create another event for audio, for things like music and sound effects. You can create an event for any other type of media that you want to organize. All right, with that project setup done, I can import my media, my video, my graphics, and audio clips. Now, the fastest way to do that is to actually select the event that you want to import the media into. I'll select video for this. Then I'm going to go in and select the media that I want to import in the Finder, and I'm just going to drag and drop it into the browser area for the event, for this video event. And there's my clip. Now, another way to import media is through iMovie's Media Import dialog. So select the event that you want to import the media into. I'll select B-roll for this. Then click on the Import Media button here in the browser, or you can hit this little arrow button up in the top toolbar. and up pops the media import dialog. Now you can just drill down into the file structure of your Mac and find the footage that you want to use in your YouTube video. You can also select the event you want to import into up here using this menu. An advantage of using the import dialog is that you can preview your media before you import it. I'll go ahead and import this media by going down and hitting Import Selected. And there's my media in my event. All right, I'm going to go ahead and import the rest of my media, and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, now that all of our media is imported, we can actually start editing. Now, there are a number of different ways to edit YouTube videos in iMovie, depending on the type of YouTube video that you're creating. I'm going to show you the simplest and most common way creators edit their talking head YouTube videos. So I'm going to go first into my video event. I'm going to select my long on-camera talking head clip here. And I'm going to place it on the timeline by hitting the E key on my keyboard. And there's my clip. Now, I should mention something. iMovie sets the resolution and frame rate of your project based on the first clip that you put on the timeline. The resolution of that first clip also determines the maximum resolution you can export at. So make sure the first clip you put on the timeline is the resolution and frame rate you want to export at. Very important. The resolution of my first clip, my talking head video here, is 1080p, and the frame rate is 30 frames per second, which is what I want. Now I can check the resolution of my project by going over to the right and selecting Settings, and you can see up here, Project Settings, 1080p. That's the resolution of my project. Now there's something else here in the Settings panel that I want to make sure is turned on because it will make editing my talking head clip much easier, and that's this setting down here, Audio Show Waveforms. I'm going to make sure that's checked so that the audio in my talking head clip is visible. Now I can see any gaps or any other odd waveforms, which will help me find the good parts of my recording. I'm going to zoom into the timeline here using the keyboard shortcut Command+. Scroll over to the beginning. Now we can really see the waveforms, and we can see the gaps between these waveforms, which tell me that these are probably different takes in my recording. Now, another feature I like to turn on when I'm editing talking head videos is up here in iMovie's top menu under View, and that's this setting down here, Audio Skimming. With audio skimming checked, when I run the skimmer bar, that's this thin white line over my clip, I can hear the audio, which also helps me identify where I need to edit. So now I go through my clip and take out the parts I don't want in my video, using the waveform down here as a guide. So I'm going to look at this waveform, and I'll scrub to a section of the clip where I think I may need to make an edit. So I'm going to make an edit right there, just as an example. So to make an edit, I'll place the skimmer bar just after the section here that I want to keep. That looks good. Then I'll hit Command B on my keyboard to split the clip at the skimmer bar. Just think B for blade. Now that the clip is split, I can click and drag on the ends of the clip to trim the unwanted portions. Now I can check my edit by skimming back a bit before the edit, then hitting the space bar to review. But they provide tremendous value for your viewer. But like any other kind of Now to be more precise with my trimming, which I need to be in this case, I can select either side of the edit point. This white vertical bar tells me which side of the edit is selected. Then I hit the comma key on my keyboard to trim the edit point one frame at a time to the left. Holding down Shift while hitting the comma key trims the edit point to the left 10 frames at a time. Hitting the period key on my keyboard with one side of an edit point selected, like right here, trims the side of the edit to the right one frame at a time. And holding down Shift while hitting the period key trims 10 frames at a time to the right. So you review your edit until you like it, and then you go find the next section to edit. When it comes to editing talking head YouTube videos, you're aiming to get the audio, the spoken word, to sound snappy, but still somewhat natural. It's almost like you're editing a podcast. You're not too worried about the visual. Jump cuts are now an accepted convention on YouTube. When you've finished editing your talking head video and the information is clear and the pacing is to your liking, it's time to add some supporting visuals known as B-roll to make your YouTube video more dynamic, more informative, and overall just more visually interesting. Now, the easiest and quickest way to add B-roll to your YouTube video in iMovie is to drop it onto the overlay track above the main timeline here. So I'm going to skim to the spot in the timeline where I want to add my B-roll clip.
Because they're straightforward to create. They don't require...
All right, that's a good spot there. I'm going to click on that spot to set the playhead there. Now you can tell the playhead from this little downward facing arrow at the top of it. Then I'm going to select my event with my B-roll clips and select the clip that best goes with that spot in my video. Then I'm going to skim through the clip to find the beginning of the portion of the clip that I want to use. And then I'm going to hit the I key on my keyboard to set an in point at that spot. Then I'll skim the clip to find the end of the portion of the clip that I want to use. And I'll hit the O key on my keyboard to set the out point. And now that range of the clip is selected. You can tell that by this yellow outline. Then I'll hit the Q key on my keyboard to place the selected range of the clip onto the overlay track as a connected clip starting at the position of the playhead. I'm going to zoom in a bit by hitting Command+. This clip is set to cutaway mode by default, which means when I play it back, it covers over the corresponding portion of the clip underneath it on the main timeline. I can click and drag on the connected cutaway clip to adjust when we cut to it or cut away from it. I can also click and drag on the ends of the cutaway clip here to trim its in and out points. All right, all of my B-roll is in. Now, I could just end things here, but I want to add some more visual interest and clarity to my YouTube video. I'm going to break up the different sections of my video with title cards or chapter headings using iMovie's backgrounds and text tool. So I'm going to go up and open up the backgrounds browser, and I'm going to drag and drop the industrial background to the timeline where I want to create my first title card. I think I'll do it right here. I'm going to zoom into the timeline, hitting Command+ a few times. All right, I'm going to drag out the duration of this background a little bit to around 5 seconds. Let's check that.
1. As much as possible, try to make your screen recording tutorials.
We want the title to match what I'm saying, so that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to add my text by going up and opening the titles browser. And I'm going to select the centered title. I'm going to click and drag it and place it on top of my background. And I'm going to just trim it so that it's the length of the background, but I'm just going to also trim it in a little bit just from the edges, just a bit. Just make sure it's centered. It seems pretty good. And there's my title. So with the title selected, you can see the controls are open here in the viewer where I can customize my title. So the first thing I'm going to do is delete this subtitle text. I don't need it. Then I'm going to open up the font picker here. And because the font that I want to use is not on this list, but I know it's on my Mac, I'm going to go down and select Show Fonts. And this opens up the font, the system font picker just off screen here. Just drag it on. So making sure my title is selected, I'll just select it again. I'm going to select here in the font chooser, the system font chooser, Roboto Bold. I'll close out of that. And now you see it change to Roboto Bold. With it still selected, I'm going to go up to the point size selector here, and I'm going to go down and select 146 points. Make sure it's centered. And I'm going to turn off this black outline by selecting the O button here. And I'll leave the face color of the text white. That looks pretty good. I'm actually going to put in the title. Now that it's formatted, I'll actually enter the title that I want. And I'll hit the blue check mark to lock in my changes. And there's my title card. Let's play back.
All right, tip number 1. As much as possible, try to make your screen recording tutorials project-based.
I'm just going to extend just a little bit so that it comes on a little sooner. It just stays on a little longer. But I like how the background comes on first and then the text comes on.
All right, tip number 1. As much as possible, try to make your screen recording tutorials project-based. Don't just...
All right, all of the visual elements of my YouTube video are in place. I've got my B-roll, I've got my talking head narration, I've got my chapter cards. So I'm going to add one last touch here, and that's going to be music. Now, music is not necessary for a YouTube video, but music can add an emotional element to your YouTube video. So it's up to you whether or not you want to add music to your YouTube video, but I'm going to show you how to do it here in iMovie. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up and select the My Media browser, and then I'm going to select my audio event. And here I have a clip of royalty-free music from Epidemic Sound that I'm going to use in my video. So I'm going to click, make sure it's selected, all of it, and then I'm going to click and drag it down into the timeline below my video into the music well. Now you can tell the music well, it's underneath this thin black line in the timeline. I'll release it, and you can see my music is way too long. I'm going to fix that by going over into Settings, and I'm going to select Trim Background Music. And that trims the end of my music here to the end of my video. Pretty handy. Let's play back.
Screen recording tutorials are some of the most popular types of videos on YouTube, and they're a great content type.
Okay, that music is way too loud. It's distracting from my video narration, so we're going to do a couple things to fix that. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make my narration just a little stronger, just make it pop a little bit. To do that, I'm going to select my video narration here. And then I'm going to go up to the top of the viewer to the toolbar and select the volume tool. And then I'm going to select the auto button. And what that does is it raises the level or the loudness of the audio, but not too much that it's distorted. Just makes it a little stronger.
Screen recording tutorials are tricky to get right.
That's better, but my music is still too loud. So I'm going to reduce the volume of the music by simply just clicking and dragging down on the volume band here in the music clip. And I think I'm going to drag it down to around 8%. That should be pretty good. Let's listen back.
Screen recording tutorials are some of the most popular types of videos on YouTube, and they're a great content.
All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Last touch here, I'm going to fade in the music and fade out the music by grabbing the fade handles here. And I'll click and drag a little bit just to give like a 2-second fade on the beginning. And then I'll drag a 2-second out fade on the end. Let's see what that sounds like.
Screen recording tutorials are some of the most popular types of videos.
Nice. Let's see the ending.
Details of whatever you're teaching.
All right, we're done editing. So the final step is to export our video so that we can upload it to YouTube. So I'm going to go up to the top right of the iMovie interface and select the Share button up here. And from the menu, I'll select Export File. And I get the Export dialog. I'll leave the project named as is. And I'm going to make sure format is set to video and audio because we want both. Resolution, 1080p. This is the maximum resolution that I can export, and that is based again on the first clip I put in the timeline, remember? So 1080p is fine, that's what I wanted. I'm gonna leave quality at high. High quality is a much higher bit rate than YouTube requires for this resolution of video, so we're good. I'm gonna set compress from faster to better quality, and I'll leave everything else as is, and I'll hit next. And I'll name my file using keywords to help the YouTube algorithm figure out what my video is about. And I'll hit save. And then iMovie exports and saves a high-quality MP4 format video ready to be uploaded to YouTube.